In this section, we are going to talk about creating nodes in the DOM tree using jQuery. One common issue among JavaScript programming is the abuse of the inner HTML property, or DOM inner HTML hacking. This is injecting HTML directly into the DOM as plain text. This doesn't seem so bad at first glance, and I'm sure there are many justifiable cases for this. But programming behavior like this can lead to poor programming practices and difficult to maintain code. Now imagine that the new node is more complex, as in this example here. First, it is difficult to read since the syntax structure is broken up as the HTML is put into text form and the syntax highlighting is removed. Also, it is difficult to add new attributes. This code is error-prone since it's difficult to visually detect syntactical errors in the code and it's not entirely clear where the single quotes begin and end. You also have to rely entirely on the use of single quotes, where the use of double quotes is more common. You also have to be very careful to include the exact syntax as required for HTML. This includes spacing, semicolons, and so on. In addition, this method only allows the element to be added as the last child of a parent node, and you have no control of adding it as a first child or in the middle of the list. Here is the same construction of the element, but using jQuery. It is easier to read, easy to update, and easy to add additional properties to. The DOM provides us with two methods to create new nodes: createElement or createTextNode. CreateElement creates and returns a new empty DOM node representing an element of that particular type. CreateTextNode creates and returns a text node containing that given text. In this example here, we create a new h2 element, give it some text, and style it green. But at this point, the new node only exists in memory as it has not yet been added to the page. To add a node to the page, we must first have the reference of another node which becomes the parent in which to add it as a child. The DOM provides us with methods to add a new node to the page. It can be placed as the last child of a parent, which is at the end of the node list using appendChild. It can also be placed before another child using insertBefore. To remove a node, the parent node can call removeChild on a child node. Or a parent node can replace a child using replaceChild. This example here shows the DOM way of creating and adding a new element. First of all, we create a new element by calling document.createElement, and then the name of the element. We can then set properties on this element. Once we have the node configured the way we want to, we can then get the parent node and append it by calling appendChild. At this point in time, it is now the last element in the list. Using the DOM way, only a parent can remove a child node. In the DOM, a node cannot remove itself. As in this example, the node that needs to be removed first needs to get the reference to its parent node, then the parent node can remove the child node that holds the reference to the parent node, which is a painful way to complete the task of removing a node. Thankfully, jQuery has simplified this process of creating, appending, and removing nodes. To create a new node, you can use the universal jQuery function. The arg of the jQuery function is the tag name as you would have it in HTML, and jQuery automatically creates this node. However, the parent node is still needed to append it as a child. But this can be done in a single line. Get the parent and call .append with the jQuery function, and it is created and appended as the last child. Also, jQuery added the method of remove to the jQuery function. This makes it easy for any node to remove itself from the DOM. In this example, all of the li elements that contain child can be removed in a single line of code instead of having to loop through each element in the list and removing them individually. To create complex nodes using the jQuery function, you could just add the raw HTML as plain text. But this is not any better than inner HTML hacking. One method is to use the jQuery chaining method, but this requires the use of each function to add or set the property. The better way is to use the jQuery function with the second argument being an array of the attributes to add to the new node. This prevents you from having to call the functions and can use an array instead. Also, you can chain additional jQuery method calls such as .click for the click event after this function too. Just to recap, the jQuery function is very versatile and it can do many things for you that the DOM cannot do or that the DOM does not do well. It can be used to respond to the page ready event. It can identify elements in various ways. It can be used to upgrade a DOM element to a jQuery element. And it can also be used to create new elements.